On.
Parking brake.
Set.
Electrical panel.
Check. Battery on. Charger check.
Cabin emergency light.
Armed.
Seatbelt no smoke.
On.
Mock trim compensator.
Tested, override, normal.
Fuel quantity recheck.
20,000 pounds.
Anti-collision light.
On.
Air conditioning supply.
Off.
Fuel pumps.
Mains on, centers off.
Ignition.
Starting number 2.
101 taxi runway 26.
Clear on the right.
101, squawk 0701. Departure frequency will be 125.7. 101, it's middle marker, turn right heading 275, clear for takeoff.
101, 275 at the middle mark. 100 knots, all estimates look good. D1, DR, D2.
You're up.
You're up.
December 17th, 1903. This is where it all began, at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And within the lifetime of millions of Americans, we have gone from this to this. Man's first powered flight lasted only 12 seconds and covered 120 feet. 120 feet. That's 105 feet less than the length of this fuselage. Aviation history is a yardstick of progress. Here is the Boeing 247 of the early 30s. This 747 has more crew members than the old 247 had passengers. This is how it was. A rare film actually shot aboard a Ford Tri-Motor in the late 20s. And how it is today. Progress measured not just in terms of improved safety and technological advancement, but in terms of need. Why did all this happen? Because air travel became essential to people. Some 200 million people fly for business or pleasure each year on U.S. scheduled airlines. Today there is no elite jet set. This is the real jet set, a cross-section of America, using air transportation because they need air transportation. And not merely for travel, but for commerce. Air freight is a fast-growing segment of the airline industry. Going from this to this. Carrying everything from parts to perishables. These strawberries being loaded aboard a jet freighter on the West Coast are savored in Boston the next day. Flying the mail used to be one of the most hazardous jobs in the world. Of the first 40 pilots hired by the post office in 1919, 31 had been killed by 1925. Nowadays, you just mail a letter, and a fleet of some 2,300 transport planes will help deliver it. 80% of the first-class mail between our cities and towns now goes by air. Yet only 1 penny of the price of the stamp goes for air transportation. Air transportation, serving a need that has not just grown but exploded over the years. This was the airline network in 1926, the year when the federal government gave birth to an industry by turning over mail routes to private operators. In less than 50 years, this airline system changed to what you see here. A network serving thousands of communities, the large, the small. A system embracing the big airlines. And the not so big, the regional or local service airlines. A World War II baby that has reached maturity virtually overnight. Some of these carriers today are larger than the major trunks were 20 short years ago. Add to these the commuter airlines and helicopters, and you have a pervasive national air transport system. It's a system geared to an era where time is a critical resource, a vital economic factor. The safety, convenience, and speed of air transportation contributes to an improving quality of life. The businessman or woman who used to have to spend a full day in travel now can fly in the morning to an appointment hundreds of miles away and be back home that same night. The family which once had to dream about those faraway vacation places or spend a week getting to one now finds them just a few short hours from Main Street. In short, the airlines help bring the world closer together. It's also a system of people, more than 250,000 men and women who make up the airline family. They work in an environment that is a unique combination of superior technology and superior service. A kind of iceberg where the public sees only a tiny portion of the operations dedicated to its safety and comfort. The passenger seldom knows what lies behind a simple phone call to a travel agent or airline, requesting space on one or more of the airline's 13,000 daily flights. This airline computer complex cost more than an entire DC-3 fleet in the late 30s. It can store data on thousands of flights, confirm space in a matter of seconds from Binghamton to Bombay, from Oshkosh to Okinawa. Automation also helps move more than 1 million pieces of baggage each day. But there's nothing automated about airline people. For example, the flight attendant who has the most contact with the public. Behind the smile, behind the tradition of gracious hospitality, is concentrated, intensive training. A cram course in aviation covering everything from makeup to mock-ups. From safety to service. Carefully selected from thousands of applicants, they are neophytes at the start. They graduate as professional flight attendants, members of a corps of close to 40,000 men and women who make air travel, public transportation at its best. When they win their wings, they know they're to be worn in two places, on their uniform and in their hearts. You sit back on that upholstered seat and you take it for granted they know what they're doing up front.
100 knots. Set a runaway.
They do. The training of an airline pilot is rigorous, and it never stops. The emphasis is on split-second reaction.
Takeoff.
All this under the watchful eyes of the airline's check pilots and FAA inspectors.
Power looks good.
This captain runs a multi-million-dollar office with wings. He and his 27,000 fellow airline pilots are pros. He wears these for up to 8 years. Before he can wear these, the result is the finest safety record in the world. Yes, professionals. And so are these airline mechanics, some 47,000 of them. Their professionalism is reflected not only in the steady application of new technology, from X-rays to lasers, but also in the skill required to prepare airplanes to meet the rigid tests prescribed by the FAA and the high degree of schedule reliability required by the airlines. The airlines are people, but in many ways special people. Theirs is a tradition of service, and this tradition has resulted in a system that is always striving for improvement. We're looking at the command post of an airline, where problems and progress are continually reviewed, openly and candidly.
With the New York City-Boston area marginal after 8 or 9 o'clock, and ATC delays at Kennedy up to 1 hour. Our operating performance for Thursday was a 99.45 with a month-to-date of 98.63. Our system grade was A, and this is 13 toward our target of 16 for the month. We had 195 delays and 6 flight legs canceled, all of them mechanical.
There is a willingness for self-criticism, to correct mistakes, to constantly search for improvement.
Montreal 49 minutes late, 56 at Hartford due to Boston weather, and 494 off Kennedy and returned to LaGuardia and canceled due to Boston weather.
And that's how our airlines have risen to the challenges of a complex mobile world. The largest rapid transit system of them all, it's been called. Moving 4 million people a week, carrying better than 75% of the public transportation passenger mileage between U.S. cities. The airplane flies 90% of the traffic between this country and overseas. Basically, the U.S. scheduled airline system is a machine for peaceful commerce, but it's also an auxiliary for defense. It can move men and weapons when needed. The Civil Reserve Air Fleet of the airlines numbers more than 200 modern aircraft, specially equipped for possible use in a national emergency. The U.S. airline industry, regulated with reason, yet still intensely competitive. A blend of common sense regulation and free enterprise. A partnership of government and private industry that has kept the cost of air travel lower in this country than anywhere else in the world. Here's a typical European domestic route, London to Rome. The air coach fare, nearly $180. The distance, 892 miles. These U.S. domestic routes are about the same length, around 900 miles. But the air coach fare, roughly $80, is less than half as much. Regulation with reason. Competition under common sense controls. It costs you only about 21% more to fly from New York to San Francisco today than it did in 1948. And you'll do it twice as fast and in much greater comfort. This kind of progress has been achieved by an industry which has stressed public responsibility in every phase, from safety to fuel conservation, cooperating even as it competes. And in a broader sense, this is an industry which recognizes that the airplane has gone far beyond the mere compression of time. It has brought peoples and nations closer together. To the men and women of the air, boundaries are artificial lines on a map. The jet is a vehicle which can help bridge misunderstanding and abolish old enmities. It can continue to bring the peoples of the world closer together. This, then, is the U.S. airline system. One born of dreams, nurtured by vision, strengthened by determination and professional excellence. A takeoff from the past into the horizons of the future.